part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Could be up to the offensive line. No, Prince's going to throw for it. Got to get it off. They go for the ball game. Touchdown! Touchdown! Michael Jenkins! Holy Buckeye!
Tebow straight ahead into the end zone, and the Gators have put this one on ice.
Hello, and welcome to the Tim and Shipe Show. This is a college football podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're part of the Press Play Podcast Network, and Tim and I, this is our fourth season, have been talking football every week, and even this season, it's coming down to it tomorrow, if you're probably listening to this on Tuesday. So today, Tuesday, November 2nd, is the CFP, College Football Playoff Rankings, coming out. So Tim and I are going to be talking a lot about that, how we looked at the beginning of the season, how our teams are looking now, and what we expect from the College Football Playoff Committee. There's a lot to dissect here. Where's Ohio State? Where's Oregon? Where's the committee rank those? Is Florida, because of their close losses? Well, we'll talk about the Georgia game, but are they going to be in the top 25? And will this be the first college football rankings where Clemson is not in the top 25? So hang with us, and we'll be talking all things college football. Tim Jones, how you living, brother?
Well, another loss for Florida. Not great for me, but you know what? It's what it is, and college football is still great. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna be all right.
Yeah, you're gonna be all right. And just because you're having a rough season, 4-4, you're the best 4-4 team that there is.
We are.
You're the best 4-4
team in college football. It's great.
Best 4-loss team in college.
That's so much better now.
Are you going to be out of the top 25?
Yes, I hope so. We deserve to be. Like, we can't. Yeah. You can't lose like this and still be. I mean, what does it matter? Like, our season's over. Like, we're at this point, we're just trying to figure out what we're going to do moving forward. So it is what it is.
Yeah, it's planning for the future. You keep AR-15 in there. You see what kind of bowl you can get into. You can still have fun in the bowl games and go off, to some cool place. And
play Boise State or something. And
I don't know. With a 4-loss, you'll play. I don't know.
Exactly.
You're playing somebody in the Big Ten. Maybe you'll get Iowa. They very well could drop two more.
Because they're trending in the right direction right now. This is great.
Yeah, you could play. Well, yeah, they're trending in the same direction
Florida
team
will play a 2-loss somebody else.
That's not true.
No, the Florida a 4-loss SEC team will get a 2-loss Power 5 team.
ACC.
That's how it goes. They'll get a Pitt or
a Michigan. And you'll smoke them. Yeah, Michigan. You're not going to get a chance. You're not going to get a shot at Michigan.
Please,
Michigan's
not going to lose another game this year.
No, they'll lose.
2-loss Michigan will play Florida. It'll be great. It'd be stupid.
No, Michigan will probably. I mean, all I see is Big Ten and SEC. I don't even know about really any of the other teams. I mean, Wake Forest is undefeated, but what's that really mean? Like, there's just So, this is a conference of two as far as I'm concerned, and who really cares? If you're a Pac-12 or an ACC fan, you stopped listening to us long ago, so I can talk crap about them. So, there's only two conferences. So when I say talk about Florida, who they're going to play, I'm always going to look towards a Big Ten team.
Yeah,
so
Michigan.
Florida, no, you won't play Michigan.
Yeah, you'll see.
Maybe. But I think I'm trying to think who. Purdue? Yeah.
Please, no.
We'll get a crack at Purdue.
Purdue? Are you kidding me right now?
A lot of people are looking at Purdue
joking.
For Ohio State next week to be a trap game. Same with Nebraska this week. These two games are sandwiched in between tough games between Penn State and then Michigan State in 3 weeks. So they're looking at these for Ohio State as trap games. But we'll see. I think we're pretty dialed in right now. But, Tim, let's go ahead. We'll shoot right into the Florida game. I watched the first half and turned it off after that 3-minute crumble where they went up 24-0, and even your field goal kicker couldn't make anything. So I just shut it off at halftime. But, Tim, what are your thoughts? I want to hear your breakdown of Georgia, are they as good as advertised on defense at least? Their quarterback didn't look great. He had some flashy moments with his speed, Georgia, but I wasn't overly impressed with their offense. I want to know your perspective with your guys going head-to-head up against them.
Well, first of all, I sent you a breakdown. I didn't show you the teams on purpose, which team was which. I sent you a breakdown of the numbers for the game. And if you look at the numbers, you would never have known as a blowout, first of all.
Right.
The numbers show a very closely played game. So first downs, it was 18-20. Total yards 354 to 355. Rushing yards 193 to 161. Pass yards 161 to 184. 3 turnovers apiece. Time of possession 27 minutes 40 seconds for team 1. 32 minutes and 20 seconds for team 2. Obviously, team 2 was Florida. I don't know if you can tell.
Team 2 was Florida.
Team 2 was Florida.
You
so
won
actually,
time of possession.
One time possession, we had more passing yards. They had a few more rushing yards than us. We had more total yards. We had more first downs, and we lost
the same amount of turnovers.
Yep.
And you didn't just lose the game. Like, if you're not paying attention to the game, you got blown out. Like,
if you see the score, and that's what the highlight was for ESPN is that Georgia dominates Florida. They didn't, though. They didn't. Other than the scoreboard, which obviously I understand. At the end of the day, that's what matters.
Yeah.
But
they took those turnovers and turned them into points. You took the turnovers and did nothing.
Right. And it was a 3-minute span. It's a one possession game outside of that 3-minute span. That's what was so just unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything where it's 3 minutes left to go in the half, and Florida decides to play it safe and be conservative, and we turn the ball over, and they immediately score a touchdown. And Florida's like, okay, well, that wasn't good, but we're okay.
Yeah.
And we immediately turned the ball over again and scored another touchdown. It was just back to back plays. In 21. Very quick succession, and in 3 touchdowns. It was just confusing.
It's so frustrating.
Both kickers missed field goals early in the first quarter, within the first quarter, and then I don't know. It was just one of those weird games where this has just not been our season in general, but this is just one of those games where it's like, what was happening? We're like, okay, well, it'll be 3-0 going to the half. That's fine. We can live with that. You know, that's a good game. I felt like it was Georgia Clemson all over again. Yeah. And, you know, I like that. Like, I can live with that. You know, Georgia's defense has been taunted all year how great they are. And, you know, so it's like, well, we can live with that going to the half, 3-0. Yeah, I feel really good about this. And then bam, 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 shell shock is 24-0 going to the half. And at that point, the game was over. Like, everybody knew it was over. Yeah. And Richardson did not play great. Now, you and I talked about this before. Do you really want to start this guy his first start going against this defense? Interesting choice. I think that Mullen
said yes, right?
Yeah, I wanted to.
Yeah, you wanted to throw him in there.
I don't regret that decision at all. I don't. Now, I understand Mullen finally realized who the better guy was in this situation to play. And I think Richardson just wasn't ready. Like, and that's okay. He's young, he's inexperienced. He is by far the most talented player. He just had a couple plays where it's 3rd and 5 and he just missed a pass. You know, things like that, whereas you got to learn these things. He can't make the easy plays. He makes these unbelievable plays when you're like, well, there's no way he's going to do this, and he does it. And you're like, wow, that's unbelievable. But the simple plays, he just gets in his own head a little bit, and that's a young player situation. I think that's something you have to learn, you have to figure out as you go. So I guess the rest of the season, I think he'll be fine. It's just, you know, he got hurt in the 3rd quarter, and they didn't actually specify it's an upper body injury, whether that's a shoulder, whether it's a concussion. It looked like a concussion based on the play when he got hit, and you could tell he wasn't feeling great, you know. And so, you know, from that point on, it didn't matter. The game was already over. And thankfully, the one win for this week is that we continue our streak of not being shut out. So we have the record, college football record. Florida scored at least a point in every game since 1988. So we continue that streak continues as a college football record. So we can we have something, I guess, more victory somehow in that. It's just not a good season for us, you know, and there's a lot of changes that are going to happen, I think, this year. Grant them, the defense played well, obviously, in general in this game. Yeah. Like, I know that you look at the score and like 34, that's not good for a defense.
Yeah. Are you thinking, so the 10 points that came in the second half and then the 3. So you're thinking it should have been like 13-7?
Yeah.
Is that where you're at?
Yeah. It should have been 3-0 at the half. It should have been 13-7 in the fourth quarter. It's a reasonable game. And I think obviously Florida plays totally different in the second half if they're not getting blown out too. So, I mean, they had to play a lot more or a lot less conservative, I think, than they would have going into the second half in general. And I think it would have been a whole different game plan. And I think that Georgia would have panicked. They would switch the quarterback out. Bennett wouldn't have even been in the game. And I think Florida would have gotten some more turnovers.
Yeah.
Based on what they would have had to do, less conservative. I think a lot of the running yards they got were in the second half. And because they were just trying to run the clock out because they had a big lead. So there's a lot of things that happen that are totally different in a different if this nightmare scenario doesn't happen with 3 minutes left in the first half.
Yeah. So here's what I'm thinking. A couple thoughts on this. The first one is, Tim, what is Florida's identity on offense? Are they a passing team? Are they a running team? What are they? Because when I'm watching them, I'm watching a team that has no real identity. When your quarterbacks have more rushing yards than your running backs, when it's third down and less than 5, I can almost guarantee your quarterback's going to try to run the ball. Like you just, I don't know if it's a lack of trust. You have 2 mediocre running backs and you lost your best wide receiver in the draft in Pitts. So I worry about Florida because even if it was 13-7, I don't think they score that touchdown because they're lacking an offensive identity.
Well, the reality is if you remember the first 3 games of the year before the Tennessee game, even the Alabama game, our running game was solid. We have 5 really good running backs this year. The problem is we don't have receivers. We don't have the receiving depth that we've had in the past. We don't have, Pitts, like you said, like a lot of other receivers too. Tony was great last year. We've had 6 wide receivers drafted in the last 2 years that were huge in the passing game. And this year we just don't have the game-changing type receiver. And Copeland's our best receiver this year. And he has historically been known for dropping passes when he shouldn't. And this year he's just not getting open. Like the receiving game is not what they've been in the past. And that's hurting us. But the reality is the first 3 games we were balanced. We had a good running game going and it was effective. And our running backs are good. It's not an issue of how talented the running backs are. It's the opportunities they're given. And we just haven't had that this year. And they've gone away from the running game again, which I think was one of the challenges last year is people were saying, well, we need to have a more balanced attack. And we kind of went away from that and went more for the passing game. That's where our strength was. This year, it was much more balanced. The running game was effective and it was strong. And then at some point, we just went away from it again because I think our receivers were weaker. So for whatever reason, we're going to attack that more. We're going to go after that more. We're going to try to make that a strength. And it's really backfired. And so instead of using the running backs that we have and continuing to keep a balanced attack, we've moved away from it. And it's got to the point where I think the defenses have said, okay, well, your passing game is not great, so we're going to make you pass it. Yeah. And it's gotten worse and worse and worse as time has gone on. And so identity's always been a struggle. It's been a struggle from the beginning. Which quarterback are we going to play? Who are we going to throw it to? Who's going to run the ball? It's been a constant struggle. And where typically especially with Dan Mullen, like offense has been more of his strength. It hasn't worked this year, and it's continued to be a problem. And it's never resolved itself, and that's where we find ourselves with 4 losses right now.
Yeah. The second question that I have is with your quarterback situation, with everything that's going on, where do you see it moving forward? Like Emory Jones going to the draft or going into the portal, is AR-15 the guy, or do you see a switching in and out scenario where they're rotating?
Well, first, I think Emory Jones, I would not be surprised if he did transfer after this year because you have Richardson has kind of we have 4 games left this year. I think we're going to win all 4. I think our opponents are very inferior. We have South Carolina, we have Samford, we have Missouri, and Florida State. We should win all those games, hands down, no problem. We should win all 4 of those games. I think Richardson is going to be kind of the guy, assuming he's healthy. Yeah. I think he's going to get the starts in those games. And then not to mention the fact that we have guys coming in. We have Del Rio and Kitna, who are supposed to be really good quarterbacks coming in. And I think that Jones is going to look at that and be like, I I can't compete with this. At this point, I've lost my job. He's probably going to transfer. That's going to be a big factor. And then also, it's interesting. Dan Mullen's made some comments today where he's saying, I'm not concerned with my recruiting class right now. I'm worried about winning games.
I saw that. Yeah.
But that's a concerning comment. That feels very similar to when Urban Meyer ended up leaving at the end of the season and was done. And I think I see Dan Mullen feeling that pressure. And obviously, there have been rumors about him going to the NFL the last couple of years, and he's denied it. This year, he's not even like having that conversation. But he's also said, I've never heard him say, "I'm not going to discuss my recruiting class. I'm busy right now, focusing on the season." But this is peak recruiting time. This is when you get those guys in. Like I've never heard him say that before, and I don't understand why he would say that now. It's not a good look. I don't feel very comfortable with this coaching staff in general. So I don't know. I can kind of foresee a lot of changes coming after the season.
Yeah, I can as well, and I think honestly, like I said last week. He needs to be on the hot seat. He needs to feel the pressure, and then he loses again in a really bad fashion. I know that it's just the score looks really bad. So Georgia, is there just yes or no? Basic answer: is Georgia's defense as good as advertised?
That's one of my overreactions for this week. Actually,
okay, never mind. Save it then.
Okay,
save it then. So I want to know. All right. We'll wait. Okay, I want to know because I just feel like Ohio State is going to get a crack at Georgia this year. Our offense against their defense. Our defense is why we won the game, Ohio State fans. Your defense is why you won the game. And the defensive plan was this, Tim. Ohio State said, Penn State, you are not going to run the ball on us. We're going to do a zone. We're going to switch up man in the back, but you are not going to run the ball on us. Clifford is going to have to beat us with his arm. And, I mean, he was 35 of 52, 361 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. The stats look really good. But when you look at the running backs, 29 carries for 33 yards. They weren't moving the ball. The defense looked great, stopping them. And they were bringing blitzes. You ever seen remember the Titans?
Yeah.
I feel like this is on Saturday. I keep thinking last night, but on Saturday, I felt like Matt Barnes was like, "We're gonna blitz all night." Remember that line? Yes. I feel like that's what I mean because he was bringing pressure. Penn State's linemen had to tackle us at times. If you watch the game, you know how ridiculous those referees were. It was bad. It was ugly, and it was disgraceful. Honestly, I don't know. It was just I'm overreacting, but they were tackling our linemen, and then a brush, the Steel Chambers helmet brushes against their quarterbacks, and they get him for targeting. It was just so crazy. CJ Stroud, he had an up and down game. He 22 of 34, 305 yards, 1 touchdown. It looks good. It looks like a solid game, but man, he missed that throw to Olave that would have given us a touchdown. And it just he was on and off. He had some really great throws and some really bad ones, but our offensive line was most concerning because CJ Stroud wasn't comfortable back there. You could tell there's only a couple throws that he had where he really felt comfortable throwing the ball because he had a Penn State hand in his face. So offensive line, if it tells you anything, Tim, about how Ryan Day felt about the offense. So every week, Ryan Day and the coaching staff, they give out the champions of the week. And just about the entire defense was a champion, and only one offensive player graded out as a champion, and that was Jackson Smith and Jigba. So I think the offensive player of the game was our kicker because he had 5 field goals. So we didn't really have a real offensive player of the game. Just Ryan Day was not happy with our offensive performance. Travion Henderson, 28 carries, 152 yards. If you take out that 68-yard run, they put a stop to him pretty well too. So, but man, I will say it didn't look great at times. We had to kick way too many field goals, and we couldn't do it in the red zone. Why did we lose Ohio State? Why did we lose to Oregon? Because we couldn't score in the red zone. Why was it only a 9-point game instead of a 30-point game? because we couldn't score in the red zone. This will come back and haunt us. We got to put something together. You got to punch it in the end zone when you get within inside the 20. You just have to. And it worries me. We settled for 5 field goals. Luckily, we have a great kicker who made all 5. So Ruggles, I think is his name. But yeah, but we got out of Penn State with a win. We had Jerron Cage. Did you see the game, Tim? Did you watch it?
I watched parts of it. I didn't watch the entire.
Anyway, we had a big man touchdown, and I've never smiled more. I don't think it's just so fun to see the big man score. He had to run the ball like 60 yards, and then to see his teammates like fanning him off on the sidelines, spraying water. It's just
I saw that part.
Brotherhood.
That part,
It's just like a brotherhood. Guys who love each other. It was just fun to see that, where everyone was just showing the guy love. It was awesome moment. And that's what football is all about. Those kinds of things where, you can be a hero like that. He was Jerron Cage was the defensive player of the game. And that was the turning point in the game too. Like, I don't know about turning point. There's really never a turning point. Like you could point to when Travion Henderson broke it, that the defensive touchdown, but that was the play that stood out the most because we needed that defensive touchdown.
Yeah. And for me, like the reason I said I didn't watch the entire game is I felt this game lasted forever. Like it was so late.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. But no, it was an interesting game and it was close. Even in the fourth quarter, it was never like this game is done until that last field goal. It was late in the game. It still was like, okay, it's still a close game. I mean,
Did you see that field goal at the end?
Yes.
They went over to Ryan Day's face and he said, "Oh shucks!" Like he's like, he didn't say shucks, and then he's like, "Oh, it's in," and like got all, like his face lit up. So it was a funny moment.
It was a very close game. I think this game, I was not expecting to be this close. I don't think you were expecting to be this close.
No.
And now they get to play Nebraska and Purdue, which I think should be in theory. It's a 3-loss Penn State team, and now they get to play 2 games, which should be automatic before they play Michigan State and Michigan to finish off the year.
Yeah.
So that's 2 more games to kind of polish things up and get ready to, finish off the regular season and get into Big Ten championship territory. Do you feel pretty confident at this point in the season?
I'll feel more confident if we beat Michigan State. Michigan looked really good on Saturday. It was gritty. It was tough. It was nail biting, it was a really, really good game with 2 teams who were laying it all out there. So both teams played really dirty. Like there were some really like shady calls where like a Michigan State player, like a choke slams the running back. Like it was just like, it was a nasty game. Just Michigan's just a nasty place to be. See what I did there? But yeah, so both of those games are going to be really good. I'm not too worried about Michigan. I'm more worried about Michigan State. But if our offense can get it together, I feel like there's going to be a routing of Nebraska. I think our offense is going to get the message, and they're going to be clicking this week. When Ryan Day only grades out 1 player a champion, I think Nebraska is going to be up against it. They're going to be struggling to keep up with our offense. So I feel good about our chances, but I don't feel great. Here's the answer that every Ohio State fan, I think, asks himself at least once during the game on Saturday. How in the world does this Penn State team get routed by Illinois? Well, not routed. I mean, they lost in overtime, but how do they get beat by Illinois? Like that Penn State team, their defense alone was good enough to beat Illinois.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't have the answer for that.
Yeah. If they play 10 times, Penn State wins 9 of them. It was just crazy. I think they had a little bit where they looked past Illinois to Ohio State. Like they just thought, hey, we're at home. We're going to do this, and then we can move on to Ohio State. And because they were ready for us, like more than 1 week of preparation ready for us. CJ Stroud said that there were players on the defense calling out what the play was before they even snapped the ball. Like just by the formation, by Ohio State's tendencies, Penn State was ready. And so it took everything we had to beat them. Everything.
Well, the good news is you get Nebraska now.
Yeah.
And look at them. They've won one Big Ten game. Do you remember who Nebraska beat in the Big Ten?
Illinois?
No, Northwestern, who
Oh,
was
yeah.
probably the worst team in the
Yeah.
conference this year.
Yeah, they lost to Illinois week 1. That's right.
Yeah, they did. And they beaten Buffalo and Fordham and Northwestern.
But I think all their losses are within one score. They're not getting smoked. Like, they're losing, but they're close. This could be, I mean, very well could be a trap game. It's hard to say.
Yeah, I don't think that's it at all. I don't think you believe that. I don't believe that. I think that this is going to be a blowout loss. This is a bad Nebraska team. Scott Frost is done. I think he is going to lose his job at the end of this year. And I think this is going to be an absolute dominating performance by Ohio State on the road.
I hope so. I'm not as confident as you. They lost to Minnesota by 7. They lost to Michigan only by 3. They lost to Michigan State by 3. Like, this is a better team. They just happen to play a lot of tough games. Purdue, I think, is better than what people say. Minnesota, Ohio State fans know how tough Minnesota is. Yeah, I think this is a tough team who is the ball's not rolling in their direction. If that,
they don't know how to win. They don't know how to win games. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, maybe that's it. They don't know how to finish. Anyway, I don't think this is going to be as much of a blowout as you do. And on that note, Tim, what are our games this week?
Yeah, so let's recap from last game. We both picked all the same games last week, so it really doesn't matter. We're all tied up. As far as
the points, but I want to see how well I did.
Yeah, exactly. So we both picked Georgia against Florida. Georgia was favored by 14 points, and they covered, so we were both good there.
Okay.
We both picked Ohio State. Ohio State was minus 18.5, so did not cover there.
No.
We both picked Michigan State to cover. Michigan was favored by 4.5 against Michigan State. So Michigan State was given 4.5 at home.
Yeah.
We both picked Michigan State, and we're right there.
Mm-hmm.
Then we both picked Mississippi against Auburn. Auburn was minus 2.5, so we both lost there. And then Notre Dame, we both picked against UNC, and we covered there.
Yeah.
So we ended up being 3-2 on the week, which isn't terrible, not great.
That.
It's middle of the road. So this week we have 3 more games. We're all tied up. So these are big games for us. We both need these games. We have Ohio State. We just talked about this game. Mm-hmm. Number 6, Ohio State traveling to Nebraska. Nebraska on the road is plus 15.
Okay.
I am taking Ohio State all day in that game.
I'm taking Nebraska, actually.
Okay.
It's going to be closer than you think.
I would be shocked, but okay. And then we have Florida traveling to South Carolina this week. South Carolina at home is plus 18.
Okay. You want me to go first? I got Florida on this one.
Yeah, I do too. I expect Florida to bounce back. South Carolina has not been good.
They're
this
stinky.
Year.
Yeah, they're not good.
real bad. So if Florida, I would just be devastated if Florida doesn't win this game by at least 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I was this close to going to this game too.
Oh,
real close, but I don't think I want to. But that's
You're going to the Florida State game, right?
I'm going to the Florida State game. Yep. So that's fine. And then the third game we have this week, we have number 12 Auburn traveling to number 13 Texas A&M. Texas A&M is favored at home by 4.5 points.
A&M favored by 4.5.
Yeah.
Give me A&M on this one.
Wow. I am taking Auburn here.
Wow.
I think that the media wants to give Texas A&M credit here. That's my theory based on their beating Alabama. But I think that Auburn is a better team.
I don't think so. I think A&M is a better team. I think Auburn. So, yeah, here's one of my overreactions, but we'll save it. It's about Auburn. So we have 2 different this week.
Yeah, so we hopefully will have actual, unless there's a split somewhere.
Yeah.
We have a good chance of having, and there should be a split because 15, 4.5, and 18. Like, we should definitely have somebody in the lead by at least 1 point at the end of this week.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's going to be me. Nebraska's going to keep it close because they have with every team they've played all season long. And A&M is going to win outright by a touchdown. Oof, man, 4.5. You got me questioning that now. That's a lot.
See, that's what I do.
All right. Let's jump into our overreactions because I think we're going to spend a lot more time on the rankings this week because the committee comes out with theirs tomorrow. So overreaction number one for me, Penn State would be undefeated in the SEC.
That's ignorant.
Penn State would be undefeated. If not that they would beat, I'm saying like as at this point in their schedule. So they wouldn't beat Alabama. They wouldn't beat Georgia. They're the third best team.
So if they play only the bad teams in the conference, they'd be undefeated.
Yeah.
No sense.
Well, all right. Anyway, they'd be ranked third in the SEC. How do you like that? That's my overreaction. I think Penn State would be ranked third in the SEC.
It's a 3-loss Penn State team.
Yeah.
No. If they don't play Georgia and Alabama, they're still going to win at least. They're not going to be at the point they are in the Big Ten.
Who's the third ranked team in the SEC?
I mean, right now it's probably Auburn.
Yeah. Who beat Auburn earlier this season? Penn State did. Penn State beat Auburn early in the season, and Auburn is ranked third.
Where did they play?
SEC. Huh?
Where did they play?
Where did they play? I'm not sure. I think they played at Penn State.
Yeah, they did.
Why does that matter?
What do you mean? Why does it matter?
I mean, it matters to a certain extent, but
it does matter.
Beat them.
Okay,
Alabama came in and beat the Gators at home. Like you still lose at home.
Okay, you're right. You got me.
I did get you.
No.
I set you up for that.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. I knew that you.
Penn State would not be the third-ranked team.
They'd be the third-ranked team in the SEC.
Let alone undefeated, which is what your whole
They're
point.
eighth.
Your premise was
eighth.
Penn State.
Okay, but I was wrong about the undefeated.
Okay.
I was trying to speak,
so you lost already.
I was trying to. It's not a loss. They'd be ranked third. I switched it.
They couldn't be Mississippi. I'm not sure they'd be Texas A&M.
Tim, Penn State is a good team.
I'm not saying they're not a good team.
You know who they can beat? Auburn.
You know who they can't beat? Kentucky.
Yes, they can. Oh my gosh.
I hope they get in a bowl game together. It'd be great.
Wait till. Yeah, they might. They really might.
They really. I know. I'm saying that's what I'm saying.
They really might. Penn State is the third best.
Kentucky won't throw the ball one time, and they'll still be Penn State.
No,
it'd be great.
Penn State is better than Auburn, Tim. Right. Auburn still technically controls their own destiny with 2 losses. They're the third-ranked team in the SEC, and in the Big Ten, Penn State is 8th.
And this is why it's an overreaction, because even you don't believe what's coming out of your mouth right now.
I do believe it.
I have a better take than you.
1,000%. All right, hit me with it.
Georgia's defense is good, but Alabama's still going to beat them by probably 17 points.
I don't think so. I hope not. That's the worst case scenario, is if Ohio State has 1 loss. Cincinnati's going to lose this week, so they'll be out of the conversation. Oklahoma will be undefeated. So if it comes down to Oregon, Ohio State, anyway, the worst case scenario is that there's 2 SEC teams in the Final Four.
Yeah, and you
because
don't see it at all.
Alabama beats Georgia, and everyone's hyping up Georgia right now.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Alabama, they are more disciplined than Florida is at this point. I hate to say that, but it's true. Clearly. You saw the highlights of that. This last 3 minutes of the first half. Like, we imploded. Yeah. And Nick State was not going to let Alabama do that. Right. If anything, they're gonna watch that. They're gonna learn from it, and they're gonna be ready in that conference championship game. And I don't have a lot of faith in Georgia's offense. I think their defense sets them up for a lot of points. Yeah. Consistently. Yeah. And I said that before. This is the first time I've said this season, and I see it more than ever. And I think that Alabama is going to turn it around, and they're going to win fairly big against Georgia to the point where it moves Alabama up significantly and only bumps Georgia back a little bit because they're going to give Alabama the benefit of the doubt. There you go. 2 teams in the top 4. Yeah. Yeah, that's the nightmare scenario. How bad does Alabama have to win to get Georgia out of the top 4? I'd say 45. You think it'd be that much? They got. I really do. I really do. If it's a first loss and they've run the table up to that point, that's just looking historically. I think look at the LSU Alabama game. I know it was a little different. It was a BCS situation, but you have situations like that, the SEC gets the benefit of the doubt for good reason. They've dominated over the last 15, 20 years.
Yeah, I understand it. I think the SEC is bad this year. Not just like underperforming. I think they're bad. I think they're bad this year.
You said this before, and you were wrong before.
I know, but wait till bowl season. I don't want to rush through football season because I love it, but I think. Oh, I can't wait. I think the Big Ten's going to just rout everybody in the bowl games. That's just what I think.
Don't think so at all.
That's just what I think.
We'll see.
All right. Overreaction number 2 for me is Matt Campbell is going to be out next year at least. If he stays at Iowa State, he's going to be out next year. And staying at Iowa State this year was the worst decision he's ever made because his coaching stock is nothing. Not nothing, but question like Scott Frost. Scott Frost was in a very similar situation, and now Nebraska's regretting it. And I think that people are going to start looking at Matt Campbell through similar lenses.
I don't disagree with you, actually. I'm not even sure it's an overreaction. I think that's a fair reaction just based on the fact that this team had a lot of, seniority coming back, a lot of experienced players coming back, and they were supposed to be better. And I think, if anything, they've gone worse. And that reflects badly on him. I think he had a chance to really go somewhere else right now and just really take advantage of the status that he had as a coach. And now he's basically regressed to the point where he may lose his job or he's not going to get the same level of opportunity as he would have had.
My last one is that it's time for Kirk Ferentz to step away from Iowa. It's been 23 years, and Iowa's the same team they were 23 years ago. Kirk, it's time for you to step away.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's harsh.
Yeah.
Is it you feel like nothing has changed? Like I feel like they're fairly consistent they're consistent every year. 2 out of 3 years. They're a good team.
They're a good team, but they're not going to win the real big games. I mean, they beat Ohio State 3 years ago, and that's been their biggest win in the last 23 years, I'd say. I mean, I don't know exactly what Kirk has accomplished. I could talk to my friend about it, but I think beating Ohio State 2 years ago was their best win. And that's not good enough, especially when you're paying Kirk what you're paying him. He's one of the highest paid coaches in college football. It's been 23 years. Nepotism runs rampant in that program. He's got like all his kids working for him. So yeah, Iowa, time to find someone else.
My challenge would be is what is a fair expectation for that program? Do you think this is potentially a program that could be competing every year for a national championship?
I think it depends on the coach. You put Urban Meyer in there, yeah. You put
Urban Meyer. I mean,
I know, but you put the right Urban Meyer coming from Utah in Iowa would succeed. Like he doesn't even have to have the name that he has now. But you take Utah's Urban Meyer, plug him in at Iowa, they win. I don't
know how you get that. They don't have a winning history. Like
Neither did Utah. He still won at Utah.
He was good at Utah, but he didn't win a national championship at Utah.
No, but he was like the Luke Fickell of this year. Like they were in the conversation when he was in Utah, and they were pushing the.
Because they had Alex Smith.
Yeah, they had Alex Smith, and I mean, yeah, I think if you get the right coach into Iowa, you can be competitive. You can be winners. Kirk Ferentz, like I said, he's the same. Iowa. I mean, if you want to stay the same, then you go with Kirk Ferentz. If you want to elevate, you look for someone new.
Fair enough.
And that wraps up our overreactions. Tim Jones, tomorrow, aka if you're listening to this Tuesday, November 2nd, today, the picks, college football playoff. It seemed like forever that we've waited for these this year. And we need them now more than ever because the AP poll is a mess. Jumping up Michigan State over Ohio State this last week, probably a little bit earned
but, for sure.
I even said I have a hard time keeping Oregon below Ohio State in the AP poll. Like, where's the logic behind that? So, what does the committee do with Oregon, Ohio State?
It's a fair point. I think the only reason why anybody would consider Ohio State above Oregon right now is based on what has happened since they played each other.
Right.
And what's happened, obviously, is that Oregon has lost a game since then to Stanford, who has not been a good team.
Right.
They've struggled a little bit against Cal. They struggled against UCLA. Then they blew out Colorado, and I just don't know if they've seen enough consistency to rank them above Ohio State at this point in the year.
Right.
So
I agree with you.
I think that's where they are.
Yeah. If I'm voting in the committee, I'm putting Ohio State above Oregon. And a lot of it has to do with injuries. Like they're not the same team that they were when they played Ohio State. They've been fighting injuries.
Sure.
So, I mean, that has a lot to do with where you're ranked in the college football playoff. And so I would put Ohio State above Oregon, even with the head-to-head victory going to Oregon, strictly because Ohio State, I think, is getting better. And Oregon, because of injuries or whatever else, is getting worse.
Yeah, well, I mean, that could change, but as of right now, I can't disagree with you. I think part of it, I'm not going to argue that Oregon's played better teams because they haven't. They've played UCLA and Cal, which I don't know how you're going to say, well, those are better teams. Like there's not good teams. So yeah, I don't have a problem with that right now. I think that could change if Oregon dominates the rest of the way. Yeah, then I could see them jumping Ohio State.
Yeah, that's the double-edged sword with Oregon right now. Is that if Oregon wins out, they jump us, but if Oregon loses, it makes our loss look worse.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword with Oregon where they are right now. Hopefully Ohio State can do enough in the remaining games to leave no doubt.
Yep.
So number one is going to be pretty unanimous. It's going to be Georgia. Now, where does the committee rank Cincinnati? Historically, they haven't been ranking undefeated non-power fives anywhere. But does Cincinnati have a different vibe to them this year than other power fives?
I would have said yes up until the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I think the last 2 weeks have shown that they have some potential weaknesses or just haven't been as dominant as they were up until that point. Having said that, I still think that the committee is going to put them in the top 4.
Top 4?
Yeah.
Not number 2?
I don't think they'll be number 2.
Okay. All right. Number 2 then? Ohio State?
No.
That's where Joel Platt has us.
Right now, I think Michigan State will be ranked number 2.
Okay. Undefeated. Yeah. Convincing win. I think you're right. I think it will be that's a good choice. You're gonna go with an undefeated. So then Oklahoma number 3?
I don't think so. I actually don't have Oklahoma in top 4.
Really?
Yeah.
An undefeated power 5, not in the top 4?
I don't think so, just based on the way they played. Now, I understand they put a new quarterback in. He's been a lot better. They've been a lot better. But I think there's still a lot of questions. I think the committee's going to look at that too and say, do we really know who this team is? They've struggled a little bit going in. Most of the season they've struggled. They've had a lot of really close games. Now, obviously, they dominated Texas Tech and they handled Kansas, but even TCU. But that Texas game was they should have lost that game.
They should have.
So, they start to play Baylor, which I think is going to be a huge question mark for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then Oklahoma State's another one that I think they could potentially lose. Yeah. So I think the committee's going to look at their big picture and they're going to say, well, they're a good team, but I don't think they're going to be in the top 4.
Okay. So who do you have at number 3 then? Bama?
Right now I have Cincinnati as number 3.
Cincinnati is number 3.
Yeah. And Bama is number 4.
Bama 4. Okay. So you think, is it eye test? Is that why you put Bama at 4 above Ohio State? Because when you look at their losses, they're pretty similar. Ohio State's lost to Oregon, I'd put in the same level, maybe even better than Alabama's lost to A&M.
Well, I think it's more based on the competition. I think Ohio State's had an easier schedule than Alabama so far, just based on who they've played. Like, obviously, Florida hasn't turned out the way we expected, but at the time, that was a big win in a tough environment to play. And the Ole Miss game was a big challenge for them. And the Miami game, again, at the time, it was a big test. Obviously, as Miami is not nearly as good as we thought they were going to be.
Yeah. Well, in all reality, I'm okay if we get the 4 spot because I'd love to just play Georgia right off the rip. Like, I think Cincinnati loses. I think if Ohio State wins out, they're definitely in the top 4. They're in the playoff. They beat Michigan State, win the conference championship. you'll be there. Like I have no doubt.
Yeah, for sure.
So win out, you're in. I don't really care where you're at right now, but I would put Ohio State in my top 4. And I see this is all I needed. Like, that's what sucks is if Ohio State loses like that, wins like that against Tulane, like I'm questioning things, but I'm not moving them. You know what I mean? And I don't think the committee would either. But now that Cincinnati has lost, it puts that doubt of like, oh, okay, yeah, they're just Power 5. They're non-Power 5. That's why they are where they're, that little bit of doubt, I think, is maybe all the committee needs to get them out of the top 4 because I don't think they want them there. They don't. I mean, the committee doesn't want.
There's no way they're in the top 4. If they lose a game, they're out. No question.
Well, yeah, if they lose a game, but I think even winning against Tulane, the way they did, that gives the committee enough doubt to boot them and enough justification. That's all they. I think they don't need a reason. They just need a justification. So, yeah, I see it being Georgia, Michigan State, Alabama, Ohio State, Cincinnati on the other side looking in.
I don't think you can put. I can't justify putting Ohio State in the top 4 right now. They've only played two ranked teams now. But up until the Penn State game, they only played one ranked team this entire year, and they lost at home to Oregon.
Yeah.
So for that reason alone, I don't care what you do the rest of the way. If you blow out Indiana, that doesn't impress me.
Yeah.
You blow out Rutgers, doesn't impress me.
That's fine. I get it.
You win a close game at home against Penn State. I don't put them in the top 4. You got to earn that. You have a path. You have a path to get there.
It wasn't as close as what you'd think. Like if it wasn't for red zone,
but it was.
Red zone killed us.
Okay, but that makes it a close game. That's how it becomes a close game.
Exactly. Just like how when Florida got 3 interceptions, that's why that got 3 interceptions.
I'm not making any excuses. We lost.
That's why. But it wasn't a close game. Like
I know.
It wasn't.
I'm not questioning that.
Okay.
Like the bottom line is, but the committee also loves the drama. They love to create scenarios where people have to earn their way in, and that's a great example for Ohio State. They put them at number 5 and say you got to earn your place in the top 4, or you're out. And then they love that opportunity. They love those conversations. They love what we're doing right now.
Yeah, you could be right. I'm thinking that they're looking for a reason to kick them out, to not put them in there. And you're going the opposite way, thinking they're looking for a reason to put them in there.
Well, I'm not saying Cincinnati's automatically in their mind. I'm saying they put somebody else above Ohio State. Maybe it's Oregon. Maybe it's Oklahoma. I don't know. But they're going to look at other teams and say, we're going to put you in instead of Ohio State and make Ohio State earn their way into the top 4.
Ohio State get there. Yeah, I like that. That's probably good. Yeah, so anything else? Final thoughts, Tim? Excited to see this tomorrow.
Yeah, I want to see these rankings. I want to see what the committee is looking at, who they respect, who they don't like. Mm-hmm. Historically, you're right. Cincinnati probably won't be in the top 4 because they don't like that situation. They don't like the earnings. They don't like the prestige. Right. So I'm curious to see how they go this year.
Yeah, and Ohio State, 1 loss back in 2014. They were ranked 14th, I think, in the first playoff selection committee rankings, and they came back and won the whole thing. I think that's the lowest they've ever been ranked in the BCS. Not BCS. Oh my gosh. Excuse me. The College Football Playoff Committee. And that just shows how much better Ohio State, the perception, because we have 1 loss to Oregon and we're still challenging the top 5. So I don't know if what I said just made sense. It made sense in my mind. But yeah, I'm excited to see where these teams are, what the committee is looking for this year, because it's pretty fluid. You never know what to expect with the committee. And so I'm sure we're going to have a lot to say about that next week. And we're going to be talking Ohio State and Florida victories. So can't wait.
Be good.
All right. See y'all later, folks. Thanks for being a part of it. We will catch you next time.
Go Gators.